Hello YouTube. Alright, this is going to be one of my what I call a niche video. It's one of those videos where few people have any interest in it and even fewer can make use of it. But those few that do need it really need it. This is my log house that my family and I built back in 2010. Get a little sweep of it here, down there. Alright. And what this is going to be is about treating the logs and basically applying a moisture barrier for the logs. Now over time these logs will get dark. They'll oxidize and the logs will darken. And you can go ahead and put a water barrier on there, but really there's ways to make the logs look a lot better before you do that. So that's what this video is going to be, is basically prepping those logs to get to that point. So for the purpose of this video, we're just going to concentrate on this short wall down here. As you can see, the logs are pretty dark. They got a little dust on the top. On the outside wall, they're round, and so they catch a little dust on the top side. So the cedar window trim is pretty weathered. I'll be taking the window trim off and doing any follow-up on insulation that I need to back behind that. There's always the problem of dirt dauber nests, which I have a lot of. Those have to come down first. And the reason why I have so many dirt daubers on this house is because I built my pond like 20 steps from the back porch. And so that allows the dirt daubers to collect the mud on the bank and quickly fly over to the house and build their nest without the mud drying. Just one of the downsides of building a pond right out your back door. So first thing that has to happen is I've got to knock down these dirt dauber nests and brush them off down to the wood. Then once I complete that, then I'm going to power wash the walls. And after the walls are power washed, then I'm going to go over the logs with a bleach solution, and the bleach solution will bleach out the logs and bring them to a much lighter shade than what they are currently. And then once that dries, then I can come in here with a clear wood finish and put a protective coating on these logs. Now we're going to step around the corner here. Now I've already started on this wall down through here. I've already removed the window trim. I've already scraped the dirt dauber nest. I've already done some more insulation around the windows and pretty much prepped it for power washing. So I'm going to get the power washer out and work on this wall over here. As you can tell, this porch I think is like 122 feet long. It's a sizable project. The house, the exterior wall square footage is like 4,515 square feet. The good thing is it's not a two-story house. It's all one story. All the log walls though are 10 feet high. But once I get this all completed, then I'll work on my cedar trim around the windows and reinstall all that and trim this out, make it look nice again. Most of the filming will probably be done on the east side, simply because it's a much shorter wall. Okay, first things first, get everything moved away from the wall so I'm not tripping over stuff. Now it's time to scrape all the dirt dauber nests down. You definitely want to have some old work clothes on when you do this, because you're going to get dirty. You also want to mark those before you put them away. Otherwise you'll confuse them with all the other windows and even top and bottom on these square windows. A bunch of dirt on this. Also want to watch out for fiddlebacks. Alright, so that's prep for the power washer. The wife went out and bought me a brand new power washer, and I tell you what, that is key on some of these projects. Having the right equipment goes a long ways. So the job of the power washer is strictly to clean these logs. Alright, when you're using the power washer and you're coming down through here, you're going to notice it's going to lighten the logs up, especially on your backswing. When you come back and go forward, it's going to lighten up the log a lot. Don't be tempted to bear down on the logs whenever you see that, because it's not the job of the power washer to lighten your logs. You're just trying to clean the logs is all you're trying to do. We'll come back over the logs with a bleach solution later to lighten the logs. Also, whenever you're hitting these logs, try not to go at a 90-degree angle and force the water into the log. You want to hit it at an angle, all right, 45 degrees roughly, somewhere in that area, and just power wash the dirt and grime off of the logs. Looks like I'm going to run over and help my daughter get the jet ski in the barn, and then I'm going to start power washing the logs. Looks like we got another issue here. Everything looks squared away with the hub there and axle. This is the other side.
I made it.
That's an oh crap moment right there. Her wheel was about to come off of the axle. Actually, the hub and wheel was about to come off and go bouncing down the road. Luckily, the boat ramp was only a half-mile away from the house. Whew, that was a close call. Oh, I tell you, it is never ending around here. There's always some project. Always some project. All right, well, let's get started on power washing these logs. Big difference on the logs, big difference. As you can see, running that power washer, it did lighten the logs, but that's because I was power washing off the debris and grime and oxidization off the logs. Just don't get too carried away and excited and think a little is good, so a lot more is going to be great. Try not to hit the power washer nozzle at a serious angle to the logs. I'm not real sure why that's dark there. I may have to hit that again. Anyways, I'm going to have to let these logs dry for a day or two, and once they've dried for a day or two, then I'll come back out here with a bleach mixture, probably a 4-to-1 mixture, and hit the logs with that. Let that dry again for a day or two, and then I'll put the weather barrier on here, the clear wood finish. Okay, so it's been a couple of days and our logs are all nice and dry. So now I'm going to go over the logs with a bleach solution. It's roughly 3-to-1, 3 parts water, 1 part bleach. And I'm just going to use a regular hand pump sprayer for this part. So I'll just keep on trucking all the way down to the end of this wall. Then I'll let this dry again for another probably 2 days, and then I'll come back over it with clear wood finish. Ooh, look at that brand new paint gun. So I spent 6 hours cleaning my old paint gun that I haven't used in about 11 years. And then once I got it working, turns out it wouldn't spray clear wood finish. Stuff's too thick. So I had to buy me a whole nother paint gun. Let's head on down to where I'm at now. So I've already started hand brushing these corners, letting them soak up the clear wood finish. So I'm using the Flood brand clear wood finish UV. I'm sure there's other types of sealant that you can use out there. That's just what I chose to use. That's what my family's always used on their log walls. Alright, so what I'm about to say may ruffle a few feathers. I see a lot of people will put stain on here or some kind of a sealant on their logs, and they'll come around with a gun and they'll first spray it on with the gun, and then they got their handy dandy brush in hand, and then they back brush it. They start brushing everything in to get it into the grains of the wood, into the cracks, all that kind of stuff. Alright, that doesn't make no sense to me. Why use this paint gun and dirty up your paint gun if you're going to come right back and use a brush? Alright, the whole purpose of developing a paint gun is so you don't have to use the brush. So that makes zero sense to me. If you got to get deep into these grains and these crevices of these logs, which there's a lot of cracks, crevices, why even mess with the paint gun? Just grab your brush, load up your brush with the clear wood finish, and get to painting it into the crevices and all the little grooves and all the grains, and make sure it soaks in there really good. Just leave the gun sitting in the box. Alright, once these logs are all soaked up real good with clear wood finish and they've cured for a day or two, then I'm going to come back and do a second coat. But all my cracks and crevices are filled up with clear wood finish, so therefore there's no real need to use a brush. At that point, then I'm going to use my paint gun and I'm going to spray the exterior logs with the second. The only reason I'll even have a brush handy is if I have any runs. If I have some runs, I'll wipe them real quick. Normally, I start up high and I work my way down, but just for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to load up that paintbrush good and get in there. Now there's a pretty good sized split in this log right here, so I'm going to load it up and let that clear wood finish run down in there. Turn your brush sideways if you have some splits in the lumber and get in there. If it starts to run, then wipe it off. Otherwise, you want a lot of this clear wood finish on there so it can soak up real good. So once I get this entire wall done, I'm going to let this cure a day or two, and then I'm going to come back over it with the paint gun, load up with the same stuff, and give this thing a second coat. And that should finish this project. And this thing will be well protected. Okay, I've got my brand new Wagner paint gun all hooked up, and I've been painting this morning. Now this stuff kind of comes on kind of a beige color, but it is clear coat. I didn't tape off everything all down through here, mostly because it's clear when it dries, and anything it gets on, it protects from the elements. So why tape? Except for the windows. As you go along, you're going to get a little residue on the end of your gun, just so you're not dripping it all over your clothes and all over the concrete. Just take a brush and then wipe this over on some logs that you haven't painted yet. Alright, I'm going to finish that up, and then we'll come back out here later once it dries, take another look at it. And then it's going to be a matter of working on the window trim. Okay, so my window trim was way too rough to use sandpaper on. I tried to use the wire bristle brush, and that was working pretty well, but it still wasn't getting down in the deep grooves. But I figured out how to do it. I'm talking, this is some rough cut stuff. This is the outer edge of a cedar tree is what this is. Okay, so I've got some handy seal stain here, and I've got it in pecan, so it's a little bit darker than log, so it should give a really nice contrast and set off those windows real well. The window trim, as you can tell, is very rough cut. Rough cut, it's the outer edge of a cedar log. So now I'm going to do is give these a little bit of a stain. I'll let this cure for about 24 hours, and then I'll come back over it with that clear wood finish UV. Knock out my end pieces. I'll let you see what the difference is. You can see the tone of the wood change real fast with this pecan on here. You have to apply it pretty liberally to get in through all those channels from the beetles. Alright, look at that. That is going to look really good. Here's a comparison between the raw wood and then the treated wood with the pecan toned wood stain. I really like it. Alright, now that all my window trim has been stained and set overnight, now I'm just going through here and hand brushing on clear wood finish. I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but basically at the mill what they do is they take off the round edge of the cedar tree so they can get down to the heart of the wood, and they wind up with a 1 by 6s, 1 by 4s, 1 by 8s, however big the cedar tree is. But they throw this scrap off to the side, and it works really well for trim. But it's rough as a cob, obviously, but it works really good for the window trim. So now I'm just going through here with a little bit of clear wood finish on a brush and brushing it on. As you can see, it kind of goes on kind of a waxy coating, but after a little while that'll clear up completely. And then I'll make sure I get the ends, and I'm just going to go through here and hand brush every piece. Make sure I get down into those grooves all down through here. So the wife wanted me to stain these window trims. I at first didn't want to. I wanted to keep it the sun bleached look. Obviously that would have been much easier, but I went ahead and decided to pick up some stain and give it a try, and I'm really glad I went with her idea, because I really like the stained pecan look as opposed to the sun bleached look. A lot of extra work, but I think it's going to be worth it. Alright, I'm going to continue on from there. So the trim board's been stained and treated with clear wood finish. That is how you treat your older logs. Or you can do this with your brand new logs, doesn't matter. So I hope you guys got a little benefit out of that for those that have log homes and are curious on how to treat them and keep them lasting a good long time. But remember, what's most important is having large porches that protect these logs. That and a good sealant on these logs, and these logs will last generations. Alright, y'all have a good one. Bye.